Hey everyone, I'm Scott Stokely, and I am really excited because, well, a couple reasons. One, I'm doing this show live because we're going to experiment with a format where people can then shoot questions over and we can interact with an audience. Uh, we're going to see how it goes. It's an experiment. You're the victim of a beta test, Cole.
Sweet.
But the second, more important reason is I'm here with Cole Redalen, one of my favorite players from the Disc Golf Pro Tour, 18 years old, just won the Ledgestone Open, which is a DGPT Elite Series event, but I would say it's probably as close to a major as there is without it being a major, right? I mean, that's about as big as it gets, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's two of the hardest courses out there. So, yeah, feels good.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in detail because yeah, not just hardest courses physically, but just probably the most mentally anxiety driven courses on tour. In my opinion, anyways, I think Eureka is probably the most stressful course I've ever played in my life. But first, you're in your RV traveling, and I'm talking to you from an RV. The world is weird.
Yeah, yeah. So, no, I've been traveling in this RV since end of last year, and just been working on figuring it all out. And my mom has been a huge help through all that process. And yeah, now I'm doing full swing on my own this year. It's been great, and had a lot of learning curves and things to manage and learn. But at the end of the day, I'm definitely getting the hang of it and getting more comfortable. And I think that's pressing into my scores as well. It's helping out my games. So
Everything about you is amazing. Don't get a fat head or anything. I'm going to be really nice to you. Uh,
oh,
when next time we meet, I'm still going to try to beat you. I'm like you're only my friend. All the people on tour are my friends from Sunday night till Thursday morning, and then from Thursday to Sunday, you're the competition again. But technically, that means we can be friends until Thursday. All right, so there's a couple reasons why this is exciting for me to talk to you more than just like you're a winner of a big tournament and that I like you. The first is we got to go back a year
mm.
because last year's Ledgestone Open was one of the stories of the year. Um, can you tell the story of what happened last year during the first round of the Ledgestone Open?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I know you and I had some talks about this and just the mental grind that round was from the 13th hole to the finish. Um, I had a really early tee time. It was day one at Eureka Lake, and about teed off about 7:30 in the morning. And I was one of the first cards out. I was 5 under through the first 12 holes, and currently in first place. I was pretty happy with it, and I had something going. I was on a roll. I was looking to shoot maybe like an 8 or a 9 under and finish strong. And then we get to the 13th hole where I throw a great drive. I throw a very terrible second shot, way too short of the second landing zone into this massive bush that you want to clear to get to the second shot. And I'm in the middle of this bush and out of bounds. And so I take my lie back from the out of bounds line and in line with the basket. So now I have this like 458-foot hyzer to the landing zone of the basket. And so I'm left with this decision. Do I try to go big hyzer over the water and try to barely come back in bounds? Or do I do a little chip shot around this big bush and then try to get up and down for bogey? And me being the young, unexperienced player that I was, I decided to go with the big hyzer aggressive play to try to get the par. Little did I know there was a little bit more wind than I expected, and it was a little headwind, and I stalled out three Halo destroyers into the middle of Eureka Lake. And I ended up, I think I was throwing 10. I was throwing shot 10 from 450 feet away on the wrong landing zone, and I hit inbounds and it rolled out of bounds. So now I'm throwing 12 from 120 feet away to get up and down for a 13, which would be an 8 over on the hole. I end up getting up and down for the 13, so I went from first place to 33rd place in one hole. And then I was able to finish strong. I went 3 under through the last 5 holes, I believe, something like that. Ended up at even par on the day, but pretty much.
Uh-oh. There he is. You're back. And now the audio is, I can't hear anything. That's the joy of live television. Hold on, everybody. You can't hear it either? Okay, so is it, you're getting no sound from your, can you put it on the phone? Give us 1 second, everybody. Technical difficulties. We'll go back to the studio in New York. All right. All right, everybody, hang out. Don't anybody leave. The story is going to get so good. Cole, can you please log out and then log back in, and then it's going to ask you to connect to your microphone.
Yep.
And I'm going to gossip about you. Once you're gone, I'll be saying horrible things. Okay, while Cole's gone, let me tell you about all the terrible things I know about him and all these horrible things he did on tour. Actually, I guess none of that's true. He didn't really do anything. He's pretty much the nicest kid on tour. But if you see him, everybody, say to him, "Oh, you can't believe the stuff Stokely said about you when you were off the air." And when he asks what I said, just go, "Oh, I can't repeat it." Yep. So, hey, hold on. He's coming back. 2 guests. I could log him back in. There he is. I'm going to add him to the stream. Watch the magic.
Hello. Can you hear me?
It worked.
Awesome.
All right, we're back.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Cool.
so this is the story you just told. It basically summed it up in a nutshell. You got to remember something about this course. Eureka, the course at Eureka is par is like 1,000. What? We ended up shooting par, so that's what, 1,010, 1,015, something like that?
I think it's like right around 1,010. Yeah.
Yeah. Par is like a solid score. That's why 5 under was like, oh my God, if you get 1 or 2 more birdies, you're probably on lead card with the 7 under. If not, your chase card. The telling thing is that you took a 13, and if I'm not mistaken, you birdied the next 3 holes in a row after it. You took not even a snowman. You took a snowman bogey, 8 over par on a par 5, and then just went, no big deal. Birdie the next 3 holes, get back to par. So I remember when I heard about it, it was from Chandler Kramer, and Chandler Kramer walks up to me and he said, "Did you hear what happened to Cole Redalen?" I think you played with Chandler, right? Maybe?
I don't think so. He was warming up for his
maybe
round.
He just heard about it, but he says, this is Chandler said, he goes, "Cole's the most talented kid on tour, period. Did you hear what happened to Cole?" And I was like, no, and he told me the story. Anyways, I interviewed you because, like, how the hell does someone take a 13 on a hole and birdie the next 3? I wanted to explore how anyone does that, especially someone 17 years old. Okay, so that was last year. What place did you finish?
I don't remember. I know I missed the cut, so it was not in the cash. It was probably around the 70th, 80th mark.
Okay. Now, I do want to, out of my own egotistical self-interest, want to talk about one more thing between Eureka and last year, and that was when we got together in Pittsburgh at Butler. Mm-hmm. And I hope you don't mind me bragging about, but can you share that?
Yeah. I was having severe putting struggles. I'd gone through some putter changes that year, and I just kind of tried to find my groove again, and I was missing consistently to the right side of the basket, and it was very frustrating. You get up to 20 to 25 feet, and you're like, got a birdie putt, and it's just air ball, straight right of the chains every single time. And at that moment, it had been happening multiple times throughout the season. It wasn't just that tournament. And somebody, I forget who had told me, but I know Scott was very much like outgoing about wanting to help people. And I was like, all right, I'm going to reach out to Scott. And And so, yeah, it was absolutely brutal and just mentally taxing on me. And I knew it was a mechanical problem, but nobody else was saying, dude, you're just in your head. You're just a terrible putter because your putt looked great. And I'm like, no, my miss is always to the right of the basket. I'm not all over the place. I'm not missing left side. I'm missing right side. And so as soon as I reached out to Scott and sent him a video, Scott gave me some of the best news that I ever could have heard and said it is 100% mechanical because there's no way you're going to hit the middle of the basket with the way you're putting right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually really funny because when you approached me, which by the way, this is a credit to you because it takes humility when you're as good as you are to reach out to anybody. And when you reached out to me, I was like, well, we were at the restaurant. I said, well, tell me what's going on. And you described it. And I said, oh, cool, we can fix this. And you said, do you want to go out to the course? I said, no, I'll fix it for you at dinner. And we went out with your mom. And afterwards, you said, are we going to go putt? I said, we don't need to. I'll fix it right here next to the table. Here's what's happening. And because this is just what, I mean, I'm shallow. This is what I do. I coach and teach disc golf. So when I saw what you were doing, I could tell immediately. And I remember telling you, like, it's going to get better right away, but it's going to keep getting better. I guess you're having a good season.
Oh yeah, it's so much better this year. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I know you're playing really well, but it's I'm happy, but it's like whenever it comes to coaching someone, it's like a dance. Like a dance instructor doesn't do a damn bit of good without a student that wants to like be receptive, learn, be humble, take feedback. So you're the one that put it into practice. So I only take credit because I'm trying to sell my online class. All right. No more about me the rest of the time. We're going to be talking just about you. So you went back. You start your tournament off at Eureka. It is the most anxiety-driven course on tour, and the reason why is that nearly every other course on tour, most of the holes you can choose to play for par, and when you do, you can par. Eureka is a course where if you choose to play for par, you still might not par. And in fact, you might double bogey a hole playing it for par. It just doesn't give you an escape clause, which is high anxiety. Do you feel that playing a course like Eureka, or are you just blind to those feelings?
No, 100%. This year was definitely a redemption year coming back. I mean, since I didn't make the cut last year, I hadn't played Eureka since I took that 8 on 13. So this round 1 of this year was the first time I revisited 13 to get my revenge on what happened last year. And Eureka is actually one of my favorite courses on tour. And I know even though it's a temp course, like some people just don't like it, but I like it for the fun factor. There's a lot of fun shots on that course for me. And then also that stressfulness of it. You're never comfortable. There's always OB on every single hole. And yeah, like you're saying, even if you try to play it for par, you could possibly take a
hole 1. Oh, he's going to come back because it's the screen. Hole 1, the very first hole of the round, is a 400-foot water clear with a headwind always. That if you throw too far, it goes out of bounds long. Like, the sound went off again. Can you log out and log back in? I'll tell people all about Eureka while you're gone. Live television, but stick around, everybody, because we're getting to the juicy stuff. We're going to figure out how an 18-year-old kid shoots. I don't want to spoil it. So that's the thing about Eureka. I actually was having a panic attack the night before the tournament last year because, like, hole 1, you got to throw like 400 feet over water, and if you throw the shortest water clear, like you can't even get to the hole, and it's so easy to throw out of bounds on your approach shot. And if you throw it too conservative on your approach shot, you have to throw up a hill and possibly go over the basket out of bounds again. And that's hole 1. It's that's just it's evil, but it's the type of golf I personally love. All right, here we go. He's back in. We got him. Oh, now here he goes. Add the stream. All right, there you are.
Okay. Can you hear me?
All right. It's live television. The joy of live television. All right, so you are stressed out over playing the course. How did the round start? And I told you I got to actually get away and get into the wilderness for a few days. So you need to fill everybody in. You started off how?
Yeah, so I started out the tournament with a 8 under through the first 12 holes, which was 3 strokes better than I was doing last year. And I was in a similar position, still shredding at the start of the round, but now we're getting to hole 13, which is my worst enemy. So we get to 13. I execute the tee shot, feels amazing. I throw my second shot and I throw it in the bush again. Like, I'm so in my head at this point because I'm just like, get over that bush, and I end up throwing it in the bush again. Thankfully, it is inbounds this time. I took my medicine, I pitched out, and was able to pitch up and down for the par next to the basket. But it was definitely a little scary moment. Like, my heart was racing. Like, you're not about to do this again.
Well, no, wait, hold on. We got to stop here for a second. Was this a direct result of, I saw what happened last year, I have more wisdom now, I'm making a different decision? Or was it just a different situation?
It was just a different situation. I think if I had gone out of bounds inside the bush again and taken my relief backwards, I would have laid up instead of gone for it like last year. But this year, since I was inbounds, I was able to just do a little like patent pending out of the bush and just kind of pitch around it. So
Okay.
I wasn't in such a bad position as I was last year, but I was still in the bush and no chance for birdie.
Okay. All right. So you survived it with a par that round, and then you birdied a few more.
Yeah. So I survived with a par, and then I think I also parred hole 14, and then I was able to birdie 15 and 16 and 17, which put me to 10 under. So I think I was actually only 7 under through 12. I was not 8 under through 12. Yeah, and so it put me to 10 under, and then I was able to par the 18th to be at 10 under through round 1, which is what I was originally in my breakout performance in 2021.
Okay. So you've played your first round, and are you thinking, because you haven't won on the Pro Tour yet, are you thinking, I got a chance to win this one, or are you thinking that before you start the tournament, every tournament, or do you start off in that mindset, or does it become something that pops into your head at some point during a good event like this?
I think every round I'm just trying to attack the round for what it is. I think it's hard to think of the tournament as a whole and think so much farther ahead and be like, I'm going to win this tournament, and be like that determined and focused for 3 rounds and more. Like, to think that after the first round is just so much stress on yourself for the next 3 rounds to say, I'm going to win this tournament. I'm going to, get down to the nitty gritty and do this. That's just so exhausting. And so I was just trying to take it one hole at a time, keep throwing the shots I was throwing in practice, and wherever I came out was where I came out. I think the moment that I really thought I had a chance to win the tournament, obviously, was at the end of the first round. I was only 2 strokes back going into Northwoods Black, which is the hardest course on the Pro Tour. So, yeah, at this point, I'm not really thinking too much about outcomes. I think even after day 2, I was just like, I'm not even, I got a 1-stroke lead after round 2, but I'm not thinking about outcomes. So that was, I think, my biggest friend, was not thinking about outcomes, just thinking about what was next.
What did you wind up shooting at Northwoods the first round?
9 under.
That's I didn't look. Is that 1070?
It is 1065.
1065. That's obscene. This is I want to describe Northwoods Black for everybody, and this is a quote that I've actually quoted a lot now from Bradley Williams. He says, this is Bradley. Bradley says, I love Northwoods Black because it's one of the only courses where every time you get a par, you get that dopamine hit you normally need a birdie to get. Pars out there are okay. Like there's not a single hole on Northwoods Black where you're pissed off about a par. So yeah, 9 under's not so shabby. I mean, for a kid. So 9 under the second round, and then the third round of Northwoods Black, you shot.
Yeah, so the third round I shot 3 under par.
3 under par. Okay, which is what, 1035, 1040?
I think somewhere around there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good round. I mean, especially when it's your bad round.
Yeah.
Okay, so now the important part. You're playing a great tournament. Well, no, let me back up. Actually, I got a question about that. The 3 under. Did you feel like frustrated, like you had lost the momentum from playing 2 unbelievable rounds, or were you actually satisfied?
Not really. If there's anything I want back, it's how I closed the second round. But like how I started it, I was not mad about it at all. I think a couple holes got away from me in the beginning, as far as just a silly bogey on hole 7. I got a bad kick out of position, and that just happens. I mean, that's just bogeys will Northwoods will give you a bogey sometimes. It doesn't feel like you deserved a bogey, but it will just give you one. And so I think that's what happened kind of earlier in the round, where I just hit a couple trees away from, just like even being 4 under through the front 9. So yeah, but I mean, I was still very pleased. I was still tied for the lead after that front 9. And then I ended up opening a 5-stroke lead after hole 13, after some of the other players on lead card found some trouble on the par 5 12th and hole 13.
By the way, how did you do on hole 12 to both rounds?
I parred it both rounds, which is actually, it's just par, but it is a full stroke under what it averaged for the week.
Yeah, to give you an idea on that hole, I mean, for me with my sidearm, last year when I played it, I threw 2 absolutely perfect drives, which are like the easiest throw in the world for me, and I still didn't par it either round.
Wow.
So yeah, getting pars on that hole. I mean, it feels like a birdie. I know it is a par 5. That's the right par, but it feels like a birdie.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I can't say it feels like a birdie. I don't know how it feels, but I think it would feel like a birdie.
Oh, it does.
All right. So
100%.
now you got a 4-stroke lead. We're not talking about Sunday yet. I want to know about Saturday night. 4-stroke lead. Everybody telling you everything from like, I think you can win, to I got you in my grip 6 pick, to you're in my fantasy league. And what's going through your head on Saturday?
It was I did everything in my power to not think about outcomes or expectations for myself of wanting to win the tournament or feeling like I was going to lose the tournament. Outcomes was going to be my worst enemy, and expectations is always going to be your worst enemy. And so I just tried to surround myself with the people that were going to lift me up and say that, whatever happens tomorrow, you can be proud of yourself that you played a phenomenal tournament. And
well, let me interrupt you. Who are you surrounding yourself with?
My friends, they were at a chapel service at the Eagles Wings Disc Golf Chapel service next to the Fly Mart on Saturday night, and I went to the Fly Mart and sold some discs. And then after I was done selling some discs, I went over to the chapel service to hang out with some buddies of mine, and they were like, "Dude, no matter what happens tomorrow, you already won because you put together a phenomenal tournament." And if anything, I made a post after round 2 saying that I was just thankful for the opportunity and a chance to learn. And they're like, as long as you keep that mindset, you can't lose because you did everything in your power to set yourself up for success without saying, oh yeah, I'm giving myself a good chance to win this tournament. Because as soon as your brain goes to just winning and that's the only outcome that you're okay with, even if you have that sizable of a lead, you're automatically putting so much pressure on yourself in that moment.
Were they the disc golfers?
Yes. Yeah. So
Okay.
Ty Love, Justin Rozak, Randon Lotta, and then like Joel Freeman, Lance Brown, like all of those guys just give me some
Okay.
encouragement.
Yeah, I mean, I know some of them. I love Randon and Joel, of course. All right. So one last question. Were you talking about the tournament, or were you trying to not talk about the tournament and people kept talking to you about the tournament, or did you just kind of go with the flow?
I wasn't going to talk about the tournament. I'm not one to toot my own horn, at least starting the conversation. I don't. I just don't. I don't think that's very. It sounds. I feel like it comes across as boastful. So that was my goal. Just like I don't. I'm not. I don't want to talk about the round. I'm just gonna go hang out with my homies. Like nothing happened today. And then all they wanted to do was say, "Dude, you're killing it," all that stuff, and talk about what's going on. And I'll roll with it. I'll be like, "Thanks." I don't want to be thinking about outcomes or anything. Just so yeah, they were the ones talking about it. I was I just showed up, and then everybody was like, "Hey, let's talk about what's going on." So
Yeah. So I said I wouldn't talk about myself. I will tell you, I will touch on little bits. The reason I'm asking this, and specifically about people talking to you, is that um, I'm writing the second edition of my autobiography. So I'm rereading the first version, the first part, to refresh my memory about what I wrote. And I read, just finished the part where I was leading the world championships after 4 rounds. And the thing I had a hard time with was people coming up to me, telling me how they had money on me and how I was going to win. And like later on, I got used to it, but I wasn't prepared for it when it first happened. And it didn't help. And you clearly didn't have a problem with it. So that's why I was asking.
yeah, nobody said that. Nobody said the only person that said anything was Adam Hammis during warm-ups for the final round. He said, if I had to put any money on anybody today, it would be you. That was it. That was the only thing. And he didn't say he had put money down on me. He just said, if I had to put it on somebody, I'd put it on you because I think you're going
Yeah,
to do it.
that's just a boost of
And that's just,
confidence, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was more of like nobody that said like, I got this on the line for you. You better pull this out for me. Like there was none of that. Thankfully, it was just go out there and kick some butt, do your best. So a lot of
That's
encouragement.
beautiful. Well, but the night before that happened, when you laid your head down to go to sleep, did you sleep right away? Were
No, I
you
did not.
scripting and rehearsing those holes in your head, or were you?
I went to bed at I got to bed at 11 o'clock Saturday night and woke up at 4:30, and there was no going to sleep after that. I woke
Okay,
up and I was up.
so you are human.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%. I was so nervous that whole morning. My insides were all messed up. Like I was getting a headache. Like I sat down to eat breakfast. I took 2 bites and threw it out. I'm like, I have no appetite. I am so nervous. I cannot eat food. Yeah.
I'm happy to hear all of this because when I listen to you talk, when I listen to Gannon talk, I mean, people misunderstand Gannon because he makes all these fun, silly videos. Talk to Gannon about the serious part of the game, and you're talking to a 40-year-old.
Yeah.
And you come across the same way. So I'm happy to hear you were sick to your stomach the morning of the tournament. I feel at least a little bit better after that. Okay, so you go to the final round. You're on the first hole. Are you stressed? Do you get into a Zen state because you're now doing the thing that like your thing, or like right before the round? What's your mindset?
Um, I'm a strong believer in God, and that's my faith, and that was a huge focus point for me going into that round. And that was just a bit just where my mind was at, was like, no matter what happens today, I'm leaving it in God's hands. And that's where I was at. And I was just calming myself down and being like, even if I lose, even if I win, I've won the day. Cause yeah, I've already put together a phenomenal event. And so that's where a lot of my headspace was. And one thing Eagle McMahon also told me was that he said, don't let the pressure outweigh the enjoyment of the moment. And so that was really important for me too, was making sure that I just enjoyed it and just enjoyed playing the round, stayed in a flow state zone, tried to find my rhythm, make a statement early. And so really it was more just about like getting the round going and just throwing the next shot, saying a little prayer, taking a big deep breath, and then throwing the shot. saying a little prayer, taking a deep breath, throw the next shot. And I just felt, and I told Brian Earhart after the round that every shot felt the same during that round. So.
All right. Let's talk strategy for a minute. Spoiler, obviously, the title says you won. You shot a 1092 rated around that final round. And the reason I say this is we just talked about how stressful that course is. You can't really play holds really for par, but as much as any course on tour, I would say you can't play Eureka aggressive with your foot on the gas for 18 holes without it blowing up. It's the type of course where like hyper aggression doesn't really reward you. And you had a 4-stroke lead, yet you wound up shooting a 1092 rated 14 under, which you can't do playing conservatively. So what the hell were you thinking to be playing that aggressive, knowing that course, like you got a 4-stroke lead, you could have dropped to 8th place by playing aggressive. Like seriously, like what were you thinking? Why would you do that? I mean,
Yeah.
it worked, but why?
Right. It was not showing cracks in the armor. That was something else the Eagle said, was that don't show them a weakness. Don't show them that you are nervous. Don't show them. And that's why I felt like, that's why my facial expressions, like no facial expressions, like I tried to be as stoic as I could be the whole round, whether I feel like I messed up a shot or executed a shot. Like on hole 4, I threw a great upshot and like did a little just let's go kind of a thing. But like really, like that was kind of the only moment that I like let an outburst happen. And I'm like, every circle 1 putt, I'm like, you have to make this. If you miss, that shows cracks in the armor. So let's make this. Let's go. So I think the aggressive play, honestly, is my game plan, though. Like if I'm going into round 1, like my game plan is shoot a 10 under par, right? And as soon as I change my game plan to playing safe, well, then I'm bringing bogey into play because par is now the best score that I'm playing for. Whereas if the best score that I'm playing for is birdie, well, then maybe my worst score could be par potentially. Because usually if you mess up birdie, there's some sort of opportunity for par, unless you go out of bounds really far away. But my game plans, I think, set up pretty well to where I wasn't like, I was like, if I execute the shots I need to, I'm not super worried about that. And so, yeah, I think it came down to playing aggressive with or just executing my game plan shots. And I wasn't really worried about playing safe. I wasn't really worried about playing aggressive. I was just worried about executing my game plan. Also, I got some heavy hitters behind me. I got Rick, I got Calvin, I got Ezra Robinson, I got Marweed, who is just a forehand genius, and then Casey White, who's also killing it for the tournament. I got 5 guys that are 4 strokes behind me. I know at least one of them is going to pop off and try to shoot that 13, 14 under mark to force me to have to shoot a 8 or 9 or a 10 under just so they can tie me, And so for me, like I'm still thinking before the round, like I want to shoot at least a 10. I'd be happy with a 10 today. And if they shoot some sort of 15 and end up beating me, then congratulations, they beat me. But I was still planning on playing aggressive because that was my game plan, and I wasn't going to steer away from that game plan.
No, I mean, and it is right. So I'm going to retract what I said. Yeah, clearly, if you didn't play aggressive, you can't shoot even 8 or 9 without playing aggressive, which would right. be in hindsight would have conceded victory.
Right.
So yeah, so I completely retract my when I said what the hell you're doing. You knew what you were doing. All right, so you got to hole 13. Do you remember where you were when you got to hole 13?
Yes, I was 3 strokes ahead of Calvin, who was also 10 under through 12. No, he was 10 under through 12. I was 9 under through 12.
Okay, you bogey that hole. He birdies. It's a 1-stroke lead.
Yep.
What were you thinking on the tee pad? Did you remember last year? Did any of that cross your mind?
I didn't remember last year. I remembered round 1. I remembered the mistake I made round 1, and I said, you're going to correct on that one shot. You're going to throw the same tee shot that you've thrown every single time on this hole, and it's a hyzer tsunami to the landing zone. Check. Did that. Took it one shot at a time. Next shot, I took my fairway driver avalanche, and I threw it 2 inside into that bush, and I said, all right, you're going to throw this 30% harder to get over that bush. And I did. I threw it 30% harder. I didn't commit to the width, though. So now I got the distance right, but I left it too far left, high up on the hill. And I knew Calvin was 3 back, and if he's on a heater, he's going to get hole 13 because that's 3 hyzers to get a birdie. And Calvin Heimberg is pretty good at getting hyzers, you know? So I'm like, I need to birdie this hole, I need to birdie the next hole, and I need to birdie the next hole if I want to be able to comfortably walk in this tournament. So I throw my second shot on hyzer, and I'm too far left up the hill, and I look at my lie. There's no line to the left. People are like, yeah, you could have gone forehand. No, there was nothing on the left side. There was a super high spike hyzer, or it was lay up down to the right and try to get up and down for par. I was not about to try to make myself get up and down for par. It's a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. I was going to at least try to put it on the green. So I go super high with a distance driver, comes crashing down on top of the basket in the trees. I'm in circle 1 now, putting for birdie, because I wanted to make sure that at least I was going to take a par and it was going to be a tap in. So thankfully, I had just enough of a hyzer to throw in super high and swing it in. End up making that circle's edge putt for the birdie on 13. And so I said, okay, cool. Job done on 13. Now let's get 14. Now, while I'm on the tee on 14, I see Calvin miss a 55-footer on 15 for birdie. Now, that gives me a good idea of, okay, if he birdied 14 and then missed 15 and he had me by 3, that means if I birdie 14 and 15, I will regain my 4-stroke lead because I had just previously birdied the 13th. So I throw my drive on the 14th perfect, and then I throw my upshot on the 14th to about 40, 45 feet deep. And I think it was around 40 feet, and I end up draining the putt. And that was that was a big moment right there, because I said, if you miss this putt, you only got 3 with 4 to play, and that's not enough because anything can happen. And if he's on a heater, he's going to keep birdieing. So like I'm saying, even though I'm 3-4 strokes ahead, I'm still playing aggressive because he's going to birdie those holes. And I don't want 1 stroke going into the last 2 or 3 holes, you know? Because anything can happen. Any bogey, 1 OB, 1 bad roll, 1 bad kick, and you're now tied. And so I drained the putt on 14, and I said, okay, if you birdie 15, it's going to be a 4-stroke lead with 3 holes to play, and you should be able to close it out with that. And so we get to hole 15, end up putting that drive inside circle, dead center of the putt from 20 feet, and now I have a 4-stroke lead with 3 holes to play.
Hole 17. You had a 3-stroke lead at this point, you said? The volume's down.
I had a 4-stroke lead going into hole 16.
With 3 holes to play.
With 3 holes to play.
Except hole number 17 can be bogeyed easily. It's an island hole. Was it very windy? Because that drop zone isn't even a gimme. No. Okay, so so getting up and down for the drop zone is routine. But getting onto the island on the drive is easy, but not a guarantee. Were you nervous on that shot? I mean, now it's I believe it's a 300-foot hole. Like, it's an easy shot, except with with the tournament on the line. Please tell me you were nervous. Please tell me you were human.
Definitely what. See,
you don't have to lie. If you weren't, tell me that too. I don't want you to lie.
I was nervous, but I was really good at calming myself down. I think that's where it boils down to. There's no part of me that wasn't nervous that entire time, but I was really good at taking the deep breaths and calming myself down to where I could execute while being nervous. Because I think it's possible to execute while being nervous. Yes, I was nervous. I was freaking out. I'm like, I want to win this darn tournament. I'm not about to lose it. So we get to hole 16, and my goal is to throw a roller and just burn it over right into the bushes, because anything from those bushes, you can still even get up and down for birdie, but I know it's a guaranteed par as long as I get out the gap and get to the right into those bushes. Overturn my roller. I'm in the bushes. I'm like, cool, whatever, par at worst. end up having this really nice little shaping turnover, and I throw my turnover putter, like 250-foot little floaty turnover putter to 18 feet. And now I have an 18-footer for birdie again on hole 16. And now this is to push the lead to 5 with 2 to play. And so I get up to 16, and I was fully just wanting to par that hole. Really, after hole 15, I gave myself permission to take a par on 16 and even take a bogey on 17, because with 4 strokes, I'd like, even if I parred 16 and then bogeyed 17, I'd still have, I think, 3 going into 18.
Yeah.
And so it's like, as long as I do that, then I'm chilling. And so then even to birdie the 16th, I had 5 strokes going into the last 2 holes. And so, and then at that point, I was like, even if you throw this in the water, you've kind of won the tournament. You can just pitch up from the drop zone and take your bogey, and then even take a bogey on the last hole if you want, and walk away with the tournament. And so we get to hole 17's tee pad, and I got a 5-stroke lead. I think if I had a 3-stroke lead, I would be shaking my boots on 17. But I think because I had done the work on 15 and 16 to get those extra 2, I think that was definitely I did the work there so that I wouldn't have to do it on the 17th. And I did it on the easier holes rather than that very demanding island shot on the 17th.
Yeah, that's why when you win your first DTPT event, it's not supposed to be by 4 strokes or 5 strokes. You're supposed to win by, like, in sudden death or 1 stroke. You're not supposed to skate. So the question is, at what point was the tournament won? And don't say at the putt of 18, it's golf, anything can happen. You know what I mean. At what point did you just go, or did you?
I think it was honestly once I birdied hole 15, because that was a gettable. Okay. That was a gettable par 3 that I know Calvin parred, and I knew if I birdied, I would have 4 strokes with 3 to play. I think with that birdie right there, I was fairly certain that I had won the tournament. I mean, really, you could even say after my drive on hole 16, because that drive is a little bit scary, a little bit. So just to execute that tee shot, once I was in the bushes to the right, I'm like, all right, just don't do anything stupid, and you won the tournament. So
okay. So you make it past 17. I'm going to ask you about hole 18, and then I know you have a hard stop because you have another podcast, probably one of 40 this week. But I want to get a couple questions from people that took the time to write in with questions. So the final question is, when you made that final putt, did you feel good? Did you feel relieved? Did you feel vindicated? I mean, like, what was not how did you feel? That's so cliche. I want to know specifically what the emotion was, not just I was happy.
I had this interpretation of what it would feel like in my mind, of just like, as soon as I'd put that disc in the basket, I'd feel this incredible weight just fall off my shoulders of getting that first win and breaking the barrier of success, and just being a certified professional and proven professional disc golfer. I thought I would feel that, but as soon as I tapped in that putt, it almost felt like nothing changed. I put in the putt, and everyone went insane. I just got mauled by my friends. They all just came out, and I was boxing. I was just thrown around by all my friends because they were all so excited. I was excited. And they lifted me up and then almost dropped me. I slammed my chin on somebody's. They were all over me. They were so excited. Yeah. But no, it was just, it was a weird feeling, because then everybody's eyes are now on you. It was like this. It was just like you put in that putt, and then it's like pounce. Like everybody's like, okay, microphone, camera, interview, fans, friends, like just like, the entire moment just collapses on top of you. And you think that once you drop it in, it's gonna feel like you're sitting on a couch on a Sunday with nothing to do, and it's just, you finally, like, it's the most relaxing feeling ever. But once I put that putt in, it was like, you've really done it. It like internally, I think it nothing really changed about my like physical state or how I felt, but it was more about a mental of like, you've done it, and now you can just kind of go with the flow right now. So yeah.
That's amazing. All right, we're going to take some questions from some people, but first, I want to coach you one more time. May I coach you on one more thing?
Of course.
All right, that the whole being stoic thing is great. It's very unnerving to your opponents. I'm not. It's not a mind game, but like nothing affects me. I couldn't agree more. Golf is a gentleman's game and it's a professional game and all these things. But from a branding perspective, Cole, your personality and your charm, because it's so genuine, it's just when you show emotion and you get the crowd into it and you engage them with following along with your excitement, don't stop doing that. Because like when you, it's this is very individual because golf is is a gentleman's game, right? There are people when they get excited and get hyped up, it's kind of like offensive to other people because of who they are. It ain't the case with you. Okay, your connection to the audience, like you get people rallying behind you because you let them into your personality. And I would like, as a fan of yours, I would be so disappointed if you lost that. It's one of your the strongest things about you. You're a good, likable person. Don't get into not letting people see that. Okay.
Yeah. I think
People love you.
um,
People love you. People love watching you. So yeah, just
thank you.
make sure you stay keep being Cole. All right. Now we got. I know you got just a few minutes, but can you take a few questions?
Of course. Yeah.
All right. Questions. You want to shoot them on the screen, Jane? Can you read that, or I'll read them to you. Cole gave from Craft H2O. Cole gave my son an unsolicited fist bump at Preserve. What a class act! Big fan here. Do you remember that?
um I don't
Probably gave a
remember
lot.
exactly, but I try to do that often.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
if I
That's
if I
you.
see if I see a kid out there, I know what it's like to be in their shoes, and I just want to make their day better. That's all. I'm just like, I'm gonna go give this guy a fist bump. Like,
Yeah.
let
Hey,
them
I used to go to
enjoy it.
Dodger games as a kid, and like I don't care like who the player was that came out to sign the baseball. It could be some person that's been riding the pine all season long. He's wearing a Dodgers uniform. He signs that baseball. I'm happy for a week. So everybody on tour should be have that mindset. All right, next question. Craig Ritter, you were on 8 when Calvin hit the ace on 10. I think you were 6 under through 7. Did hearing the ace affect your mindset even a little? That's a good question, Craig.
That's a great question. I'm surprised actually nobody's asked it yet, but that question has gone through my mind before. Um, it it didn't. It did, but at the same time, I was trying to just focus on what I was doing, and I hadn't looked at scores. And so if I know maybe Calvin was what 1 under. Let's say he was 1 under through 9, and then ace told 10. That puts him to 3 under. I'm still 6 through 7. I didn't know he's shredding at this point. So what does that ace mean? Okay, it's just another under par stroke on a hole that could have just been a birdie. So I wasn't really thinking about whether he was shredding or not. I was just thinking about, well, good for Calvin. He got an ace. But I didn't know what he was throwing for the round. I just knew what I was throwing for the round. So I just kept trying to focus on what I was throwing for the round, and there was no reason for me to worry about the unknown, about the rest of his round, because everybody hit an ace. Andrew Marwood hit an ace on my card, but like I had him by quite a few strokes, and so it didn't really matter to me. I didn't think about how close he was at that point because I was just focusing on my surroundings and what was around me. So
Okay. Cool. We're gonna take 2 more questions. That way you can catch your breath before the next interview. Next question. Zach Cressy, has Cole been contacted about free Chick-fil-A yet?
so yes, Trevor or Hunter Thomas posted this message that I sent him knowing about their ChickfilA Bet on Grip Block podcast with him and Trevor Staub. And I told them that I knew about the bet going into the round. And actually, once I won, I didn't know this, but Hunter said that his first Chick-fil-A meal from Trevor is going to go to me for winning the tournament. So I'm going to send my receipt for the next Chick-fil-A stop and send it to Trevor. So that is on the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, last question. The scramble. Coke, what disc were you leaning on for each course? Was there any particular disc and shot you were like, this is working? And before you answer that question, what I was going to ask you to leave with is to tell us all about your sponsors and tell us why they're great and how great their discs are. So we're just going to combine that together. Let's talk about your discs.
Okay. Well, I think definitely for the Northwoods Black course, on a lot of that back nine during the second round when I shot that 9 under, I was throwing a gray DL plastic, which is kind of like a baseline plastic, Steady BL. Steady BL is my putter, very similar to like a AVR, a little bit deeper Luna even. I was throwing a base plastic putter for like touch backhand hyzer flips to touch backhand turnovers. That was a huge moment for me to be able to capitalize on a lot of that. There's a lot of left to right moving shots on Northwood, and so to have that backhand turnover dialed was really, really important. So to have a putter that was really under control, and then the DJ PL aftershock was going really straight for me. I did baby hyzer flips, really just anything that would hyzer flip and give me a little bit of turn, or even just hyzer flip and go straight. Yeah, those two discs right there were definitely my workhorses at Northwood. And then Eureka, I was throwing first flight hypercane, which is a very overstable distance driver. And then I was also I threw 2 rollers on 16 and 2. I threw a PL Vortex for those. And then I had this blue ESP zone that I felt like I threw so many times. It was on Northwoods and Eureka. I threw it on hole 9. I threw it on hole 3. I threw it on hole 4. I threw it on hole 17. I threw it on hole 7. So I threw it on so many holes on that final round. So yeah, those are definitely the big ones in the bag. But
awesome. Well, and just a little more detail. Any other sponsors you want to talk about?
Yeah, of course. I mean, of course, DGA. Oh, I guess I'm over here. DGA for sponsoring and believing in me this year. DGA has the most underrated plastic in the game, and I will stand by that. I believe that you guys will love every bit of their discs. I have a Tour Series disc, the Pipeline. If you want, please go check that out at dga.com/Redalen. Pick yourself up my Tour Series Pipeline. I also have some Tsunamis, which is much like an Onyx. That disc, it just came out with a release with OTB discs. That will be on otbdiscs.com. And then I have Pound Disc Golf is my bag sponsor. I have some signature Rufuses that are going to come out next week. I'm super pumped about those. So if you're looking for a new bag that you want some good warranty on, it's going to hold up, not too much space, but also just enough space. Both sides zip down and fold in so you can have easy access to the outside of the bag, still have that main compartment available. Pound Disc Golf has been an amazing bag sponsor this year. And then we have OTB Discs as the retail sponsor. They've been awesome as well with the special runs of discs. And then we had Eagles Wings Disc Golf, which is my Christian family on the road and Bible study group. They do so much for me and my confidence and mental space. We all just really love supporting each other. And then Oregon Sports and Family Chiropractic. It's my chiropractor back home in Newburgh, Oregon. They do so much for me in the off season as far as workouts and just helping my body stay in shape. And I've never dealt with many injuries in disc golf, and that's because of them, all that hard work they've poured into me. So yeah, those are all my sponsors, guys. So please go support them because they really make everything possible for me. So.
All right. Cool. I love you. You're one of my favorite people on tour. I know, I mean that, man. You're absolutely one of the people that I watch and look up to, and I'm still going to beat you next time I meet you on the course.
I'm excited. I'm excited, Scott. Let's get it. Lead card. Come on.
Come to Europe. Bring it on, child. Um, no, I'm happy for you. Enjoy every bit of the attention you get. You deserve every bit of it. For everybody listening, if there's like I can vouch for Cole. Like this is a young player that you can get behind. He is not going to do something next week to embarrass you if you're wearing his shirt. Yeah, you're pretty much like you're one of the good guys. I mean, everyone on tour is one of the good guys or good
Yeah, you
girls or
can't go
whatever.
wrong. They're all great.
But you're definitely one of the special ones. Please say hi to the family, say hi to your mom, and enjoy your next interview. Thank you so much for chatting with me, everybody. Cole Redalen, Ledgestone Open Champion 2023.
Thank you, guys.
All right, man. We'll see you very soon. Good luck at Worlds.
See you, Scott. Thanks.
All right, bye.